Hey folks, my name is Mo and I'm the co-founder of Netflare. Netflare is an all-in-one DevOps platform helping you monitor your digital infrastructure, and when incidents happen, we help you bring it to a close. In this video, I'm going to be demoing how to set up an API alarm. Our alarming system is how we help you deal with incidents once they have occurred. As your system's health changes over time, our alarm can be triggered to take automated action that can help your team resolve the issue as quickly as possible. In our case, we're going to be demoing how to update the state of the alarm using an API endpoint that Netflare will generate for us. To get started, let's go to the Alarm tab and select a new alarm. From here, we're going to be guided through a wizard that will help us set up the alarm. The first thing that we have to provide is the alarm name, so I'm just going to call it API alarm. The next thing is we get asked which team is going to own this alarm, so in this case, I'm going to select the checkout team. Now from here, we're going to get asked what is the trigger that will update this alarm. We have a multiple integration endpoints, so for example, like AWS, Azure, GCP, Grafana, Datadog, New Relic, Libra NMS, Zendesk. But for this demo, we're going to be using the API. The next step is to pick the state of the type of this alarm. We have two options, stateful and stateless. A stateful alarm is one where we manage the whole life cycle of the incident, and we are aware of when the incident happened to when it's resolved. On the other hand, a stateless alarm is one where we only manage when an incident occurs, but we don't need to follow up when the resolution happens. So for example, if I select stateful, I'm given 4 actions that the state of this alarm can be in. It can be an alert, warning, okay, insufficient data. If I pick stateless, then I only have the alert stage to be able to manage. In this demo, I am going to be using the stateful alarm. Next up, I'm given the option to add authentication to protect this API alarm. For this demo, I'm going to skip it. The next option deals with the relationship of this alarm. By default, the API endpoint we generate will be unique to that alarm. But if I select this option, that relationship type will change to many-to-one, which means that multiple alarms can share the same API endpoint. This option is useful if I want to group different alarms under a common API. For this demo, I'm going to pick this option. When I do, I must select the differentiating factor for each child alarm. This will come from the annotation that I'm going to be passing in during each update when I make the call to the API. And so I only need to give it the key, and so in this case, I'm going to call it alert title. Now that we've set up the configuration of the alarm, let's look into how to set up the automated action that we want to be taken when the system changes state. Let's look into the alert state first. So by default, we start with no action, and then I can start adding my first action in here. We have a bunch of actions that you could automatically take. You can create a ticket, you can close a ticket, comment on a ticket, start a runbook execution, or send out a notification. I'm going to set this up, and then we're going to return where we already have it set up to look at what that data will look like. I have now gone ahead and set up the alarm based on my configuration needs. Let's look into it. So we can start off with the warning state. And what I have specified is that when the system goes into a warning state, then I would like an action where it creates a ticket. And I've here specified the template of what that ticket is going to look like. I've specified the team. I've also specified the title. And something I would like to note about the title is that this will be filled in when the ticket is being generated. And it's going to be filled in from the annotations that are going to be passed in when we change the state to a warning. I'll show you what that'll look like when we do make that change. I've also specified the priority, which is going to be P2. Any custom tags that I've created, who's going to be assigned to, body will come from the annotation. Lastly, I would like to create a dedupe lock on the ticket that gets generated. This lock is used to ensure that only one ticket is allowed to be opened with a similar dedupe string. This dedupe lock reduces the noise, as if multiple tickets try to be generated with the same string, then the system will dedupe into the existing open ticket. The next thing we will look into is the alert. From here, I've specified different actions that I want to be taking. The first action I want to take is to start a runbook execution. I've defined which one book from my list of one books, and I've defined the technicians that will be responsible for executing it. This is the first task. The second task I've specified is I would like a ticket to be created. Now this ticket will match the same dedupe string that I've specified for the warning. So what will happen here is that if the system went into a warning first and then into alert, then it will not generate a second ticket because that dedupe string will match with the first ticket and then return that instead. I've done a few different things on it. I've said that, for example, I want it to be a priority one, and the system will understand that when it finds a dedupe, it will go back to the first ticket and change it into a P1. Lastly, I've said that I want the one book that we started the execution for in the first step to also be attached to the ticket. And I'll show you in a second what that will look like. In the insufficient data state, I've specified an action to leave a comment on a ticket. This ticket will be identified by the combination of the team and also the dedupe string. And in the comment that will be left behind, I've specified a template of what that will look like. And finally, in the last state, when the system goes into an OK state, I would like to close a ticket, and that ticket will be identified by the team and the dedupe string. Let's create the alarm. The only thing I need to do is to hit the save button, and now the alarm is created for me. Here, I'm given information on how to set up the API endpoint. I've given the endpoint that I should be setting up with, and also the body for the API endpoint that I will be passing in. Let's go finish, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. I've gone ahead and set up my Postman so that I can make the API call that is going to update this alarm. So the first thing I've done is I changed the method type to post. I took the API endpoint from here and then put it into Postman. And then from here, I also updated the body. I've said that the status, I would like to change it to a warning state. And then I'm passing annotation here that are going to be used in two things. The first part is that they're going to be used as part of the many-to-one relationship to be able to figure out the child of this alarm. So here we have the alert title. The second part is it's going to be used to generate the ticket of that I've specified in this template. So the title that is going to come from the annotation. So let's make this request. So this request was sent. We can see here that Netflare accepted it. So now I can go back to Netflare and I can hit the refresh button. And the first thing I've noticed is that immediately I now have one alarm that is in warning. If I open up the children alarm tab, I can see here that there is a child alarm, and that is meant to reflect the website latency, and it's currently in warning. Let's jump into it. Inside of the history, I can see that the system has now went into a warning state. And because it went into a warning state, it took the automated action that we had set up. So in my case, I had said I wanted to create a ticket, and so it did. So I can go into that ticket directly and then view the information about it. So I can see, for example, the title and the body. Those came from the annotation here to say website latency, system is not working as intended. Those were achieved from here. Let's go back to the alarm. The next thing I want to demo is changing this alarm status into an alert. So the way to do that is to open up Postman and change the status to be alert instead of warning. From here, I'm going to leave the annotation keys as they were before. But what that will do is because there's already a child with this same alert title, the same alarm is going to be reused to change into an alert state. So let's create that one. So let's submit. If I go back into Netflare, I hit the refresh button. I can see now that the system has went into an alert state. I can see that it also took the action that I have specified. The first action it did is start a one book execution, and then it created a ticket for me. Now, because the ticket dedupe is going to match the same ticket that was created for warning, these two tickets will actually be the same ticket. And we can prove that because I can open up this ticket and I will see the same information here. But the key difference is that it changed the detail of the ticket to match the new settings. So one of the differences is that it changed it from priority 2 to priority 1 and also changed the location from Toronto to Montreal. The next part is it started a one book execution. I can view that runbook execution here inside of the ticket and be able to follow up on its status directly in here. Next up, I can also see the alarm status. So I can see that right now it is an alert. And then I can also see all the notifications that have been sent out because of this ticket. Now, because this is a priority 1 ticket, it's automatically sent out a notification to let the engineering dispatch know about it. Now, if we go back to the alarm, and then we try to change the status into insufficient data, what will happen is that the system will accept that. If we come back over here, we refresh, we see that it left a comment on a ticket. If we open up that ticket we were looking at before and we refresh it, we can see that the comment that I have specified has now been entered in. Now, the last step is to change the status into OK. So if I change that to OK, go back into Netflare, hit refresh, I can see that the system has accepted that and has now put the ticket into resolved. If I go into the ticket, hit refresh, I can see that the ticket got closed off in the logs. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the alarm. Thank you so much for watching this video.